Aquarius, September does not tiptoe into your life. It kicks the door and floods the room with unflinching daylight. If you take away only one promise from what follows, let it be this. This month shows you, with ruthless clarity and relentless tenderness, who you're becoming in the mirror of your relationships, your money, your home base, and your future path. And then it demands you act like you believe it. You are the sign of vision and systems, the water bearer who pours change into dry ground, the one who understands that a blueprint is an act of love and that a network is a nervous system for hope. September is where the sky tests both your courage and your structure at the same time. A full-month Mercury combustion keeps words hot and decisions fast. Uranus, the planet of shocks, upgrades, and honest rewiring, turns retrograde in your home zone and flips a hidden fuse inside the house of your life. The first eclipse lands right on your identity axis and pulls truth straight from your chest. The Sun and Mercury fuse in your partnership zone and reveal a contract of the heart or a hard fact about us. Mars steps into your belief and travel territory and pushes you to move with purpose. Venus enters your partnership zone and softens the tone, right when you need softness that doesn't weaken you. The Sun and Mercury move into your shared resources corridor and face Saturn and Neptune retrograde in your values and earnings. And the second eclipse installs new default settings in that financial intimacy passageway that you'll feel vibrating all the way into October. I will tell you what's unfolding, what it means for the choices in your hands, how your mood will swing and steady, and what to do on the specific days that bend the rest of your month. I'll keep the language simple and clear, even when the sky goes operatic, and I'll speak to you like we're walking side by side, because we are. Begin where the ache and the bravery live, the axis of self and other, Aquarius and Leo. All month long, Rahu sits in Aquarius and Ketu sits in Leo. I am not dropping those names because they matter. Rahu in your sign is the future tugging at your sleeve. It pulls you forward to be seen as you are now, not as a souvenir of last year's self. It is the forward impulse in your identity, your look, your voice, your personal path, the part of you that doesn't ask the room for permission before it breathes. Ketu in Leo is the release valve in your relationship theater. It asks you to strip out performance, turn down the spotlight, and keep only what is real. On their own, Rahu and Ketu would be enough to move the needle in any ordinary month. But September is not ordinary. September turns up the volume on that karmic wire twice. First with a lunar eclipse across Aquarius Leo that shreds costumes and retires roles you've outgrown. And then with a solar eclipse in Virgo, the deep corridor of shared resources, intimacy, and the agreements that bind and free, staring straight across at Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Pisces, where your earnings, your voice, and your values live and breathe. If there has been a chorus humming in the background of your days, who am I now? What do I need from the closest ties? What is my real worth? What am I willing to share, and what do I keep sacred? This is the month that chorus steps to the microphone and sings lead until you cannot pretend you didn't hear it. From September 3rd through September 30th, Mercury is combust, too close to the sun to be cool. Think of your mind as an engine driving into a floodlight. Everything is illuminated and the glare is real. Early in the month, Mercury runs through Leo for you, which means your partnership zone is under a heat lamp. Partners, collaborators, clients, even open rivals. Conversations move quickly, the reach is wider than usual, and the temperature is higher than you expect. Words stick. Promises stick. Threats stick. Praise sticks. So keep it tight and keep it clean. Short messages with clean edges. Clear emails without venom hidden in jokes. Direct asks that spare everyone the theater. Say, here's what I see. Here's what I propose. Here's the next step. If a difference of opinion appears, aim your attention at the content, not the character. The question, what would make this fair, will do more for your life in September than any speech where you collect grievances like trophies. On September 13th, the Sun and Mercury stand at the same degree, cazimi if you want the technical word, but what matters is that the messenger sits in the heart of the light. That moment delivers a truth about us, about the structure of your bonds, about the terms of your agreements, about the way you've been participating in a dynamic. It lands like a bell in a quiet room. You will not have to wonder if it's the truth. You'll feel it reverberate through your ribcage. Write it down the same day. Make one clean adjustment immediately. Not a dramatic purge, not a posturing lecture, just the kind of shift that lets love or collaboration breathe in a room that no longer fogs the windows. Then the first shock rolls through. September 7th to 8th brings the lunar eclipse across your 1st and 7th houses, the line that separates me from us. The moon in Aquarius sits with Rahu and faces the sun in Leo near Ketu. The translation is unsparing and merciful. Your internal sense of self, the felt truth of who you are, how you show up, what you want to be called, what you want to be known for. It no longer fits into labels designed to keep other people comfortable. Maybe it's simple and visible, like updating your headshot and bio to match your actual presence. Maybe it's profound and private, like realizing you've been shrinking inside a partnership that needs you at full size. The field of relationships feels this eclipse like a pressure change when a storm front moves in. If a bond is solid, the eclipse produces a truth that strengthens its bones. We need a shared budget. We need scheduled time that's real. We need separate keys to sanity. We need to stop interpreting and start asking. If a bond is built on performance, the performance cracks under the weight of truth, and the crack is a gift. Around this eclipse, pause major promises. Write one unruly, brave line that you want to live inside connection. No silent punishment, no spending in secret, no swallowing words that matter. And then prove it with a small action within 48 hours. If you are single, this is an unblinking mirror. You don't need to make yourself easier to choose. You need to choose yourself clearly enough that people know how to meet you. As you absorb that, Uranus steps forward to whisper the strangest relief. On September 6th, Uranus turns retrograde in Taurus, the base of your chart. Home, family, roots, land, kitchen table, doorways, the room in your house where your shoulders fall an inch and you exhale without performing. When Uranus moves forward, surprises strike from the outside. A sudden move, an unexpected repair, a family plot twist, a tech change that scrambles your routines. When Uranus turns inward, the surprise rises from within. You change the settings of home. You decide what rest actually means in your body instead of what you've been taught. You reimagine the spaces that power your day. You edit the definition of family from who I inherited to who I nourish and who nourishes me. This is less about pretty and more about power. Move your desk to where the light touches your eyes before your inbox does. Install a drop zone that keeps your mornings honest. Clear a cabinet so meal making feels like breathing, not fighting. Switch the apps that steal your focus for tools that give it back. Think of Uranus as the electrician who opens the breaker box, traces the tangle, and reroutes the wires so every time you cook and run laundry, the house lights don't die. The time you spend on simple domestic engineering this month is not shallow. It's shrewd. Your home is the battery pack for everything Mars will ask you to do later. Make the current safe. The night of September 13th is a hinge. The Sun and Mercury stand in union in Leo, and truth snaps into place about us. Then Mars steps across the threshold into Libra. For you, Libra governs belief, travel, publishing, teaching, legal matters, and the wide world beyond your familiar grid. Mars is your engine, your forward impulse. In this territory, Mars pushes you to move outward with grace. Book the trip that teaches your bones something real. Enroll in the course that sharpens your tools. Sketch the outline for the book or talk that's lived in your head so long it knows your furniture. File the paper you've avoided because it felt like a door you weren't ready to open. If you lead, Mars in Libra invites you to name the philosophy behind your work. No fireworks required. Plain speech, soft tone, straight back. Mars wins here when courage arrives dressed as courtesy. Expect those moves to rumble the psyche, because Pluto retrograde in Capricorn hums in the background of your 12th house. Endings, rest, and deep healing. When you stretch into the world, ancient alarms can blare inside your chest. That is not a prophecy of doom. It is the final noisy gasp of an old security system you're decommissioning. Breathe, then step anyway. Also note that Mars forms an enlivening line to Uranus retrograde in Taurus, which means your expansions out there and your rewiring in here will feed each other like rivers merging. A weekend away solves a household puzzle. A home reset unlocks writing that refused to come before. Watch for the elegant feedback loop and step into it when it appears. 2 days later, Venus enters Leo and the air sweetens where it was sharp. Your partnership zone gets a velvet lining. If the first half of the month felt like you were carrying conversations in a metal bucket, now you get to pour tea into porcelain. Appreciation lands. Affection counts double. Negotiations respond to warmth faster than to diagrams. This is not an invitation to swallow your needs. It's a reminder that kindness is not the enemy of clarity. On the same day, Mercury shifts into Virgo, your shared resources and intimacy zone. Mercury remains combust, which means the messengers in your life, emails, spreadsheets, texts, policy documents, whispered fears, whispered desires, move quickly across this sensitive terrain. Speak kindly, show your math, slow your signature hand when the stakes are high. If money is shared, connect the numbers to values with the audacity of someone who tells the truth, not to win, but to build. If debt needs air, rename the plan from burden to exit path and walk it 1 foot at a time. If intimacy conversations not your stomach, remember, you don't owe anyone a whole novel in one night. A single honest paragraph carries more voltage than a virtuous monologue that dodges the point. On September 17th, the Sun joins Mercury in Virgo, and the spotlight on shared resources and deep trust goes bright. Across the chart in Pisces, your earnings, your voice, your values, sit Saturn retrograde and Neptune retrograde, the project manager and the dream director in one strange duet. This is the axis that matters most for the bones of your month. On one side, the Sun and Mercury demand that you clean contracts, refine bonds, write plans, name needs, and face numbers without flinching. On the other side, Saturn retrograde whispers that responsibilities you take must respect the limits that keep you honest, and Neptune retrograde murmurs that kindness counts as structure too, that a soft tone carries the truth further than a trumpet blast in a small kitchen. Oppositions are bridges, not bar fights. They connect rooms that should never have been separated. When you choose courage in sharing and truth in money, your sense of worth rises without begging the world to clap. When your worth is anchored, you make cleaner choices about what to share and whom to trust. If you invoice for your life, set terms that reflect the value you bring, even when your voice wobbles and your finger hovers over the send button. If you work within a larger machine, align compensation with boundaries in ways that let you sleep and wake without dreading your phone. If you're not in paid work right now, translate compensation to energy exchange and guard your time like you would your bank account. Love, cause, and craft all benefit when numbers and needs bow to each other instead of wrestling for air. Your emotions will not be random weather. They will move in waves you can name, and naming them allows you to surf them instead of drowning in whitewater. The eclipse of September 7 and 8 is a crest touching identity and relationship in the same breath. Expect a volatile mix: grief that tastes like relief, relief that burns like grief, laughter that shows up in rooms where you expected to break. Let it be messy without turning it into a story about your worth. A second, gentler swell arrives around September 12 to 14 as the moon slides through Taurus, the sign where it is strongest and your home sector, the ground beneath every ambitious bridge you build. Those days are for soup, for clean corners, for naps like medicine, for people whose presence lowers your blood pressure without trying. That is not indulgence. That is the refill that lets Mars do Mars without driving you into the wall. Then comes the low tide, around September 26 to 28, as the moon moves through Scorpio, the public eye, where you are seen even when you want to disappear. Those days demand simplicity, refusal of extra spotlight, and results that do the speaking. Between these, a quiet, cloudy window from September 20th to 23rd arrives as the moon enters combustion, heading into the solar eclipse. Lower your inputs, lower your voice, lower your expectations that other people will be their best selves on the same day you're struggling to be yours. And the karmic knot days when the moon crosses from water to fire. Around September 10, September 19, and September 29th to 30th. They may make the air feel weirdly brittle for a few hours. If your mind invents a crisis here, name the transit and choose softness over eruption. You do not need to sprint when your laces are untied. Then the second peak, the one that installs the code beneath the interface. On September 21st to 22nd, the solar eclipse arrives in Virgo, where the Sun and Mercury stand together on your side of the bridge, and across in Pisces, the retrograde pair, Saturn and Neptune, look back at you with a face that is half steel, half mist. This eclipse lives in your house of shared resources and deep merging. Money you share, secrets you keep. Fear you carry in a muscle you can't stretch. Power you sign away without noticing. Intimacy you crave and avoid in the same hour. If the lunar eclipse retired a costume you wore to be loved, this solar eclipse issues a uniform for the life you are building instead of performing. This is not a day for speeches you later regret. This is a day for default settings that honor your nervous system on its worst day. Delete one expense or obligation that belongs to the ghost of your past self. Write one money or energy rule you will honor without debate. No yes on the spot, weekly money talks in daylight, no explanation of boundaries twice. Choose one simple, repeatable intimacy habit that builds trust without requiring fireworks. Daily check-ins that respect attention spans. A tech-frilled dinner that remembers eye contact. A standing 5-minute hug that feels ridiculous until it saves a night. If legal papers pass across your hands, demand clarity you can explain to a tired future you. If grief or old fear climbs into your throat, meet it with structure and softness at once. Cry, then calendar. Feel, then fold laundry. Your body writes software for brave choices while you sleep. Guard your sleep as if courage depends on it, because this month it does. Jupiter spends September in Gemini, the 5th house of your chart, the chamber of creativity, children, romance, risks that feel like aliveness, and things you make because existence is short, and art is a way to extend it. Jupiter coaches basics, not spectacle. Its promise is unromantic and beautiful. When you treat your creative life like daily food instead of rare dessert, love and luck find you in the hours you already have. If there are children near your life, Jupiter reminds you that 15 minutes of true attention feeds a future more efficiently than a full weekend of distracted presence. If you are dating, Date in places and ways where you like yourself. Bookstores, parks, workshops, small music, bright groceries where you cook later. If you are lonely, with a hunger that doesn't fit in a single word, pencil joy into the calendar as if joy were part of your job. That is not to distract yourself from eclipses. It is to build neural tracks for delight, so your nervous system knows somewhere healthy to run when life accelerates. Joy is not a luxury. It is an energetic budget line. Pluto retrograde spends the month in Capricorn, the back room behind the stage, the place where endings and transformations occur. There is a chance you will decide to end something in private this month. A habit that softens you into someone you don't recognize. A story you tell yourself to justify not trying. A loop that starts with doom scrolling and ends with tomorrow I'll be different. When your public life heats up, and it will, because Mars in Libra has less patience for staying small than you think. The temptation is to carry old coping patterns into new rooms. Pluto's message is both stern and compassionate. You do not need the armor you forged in last decade's battle to walk into this decade's build site. When you feel the urge to numb or vanish, do not run your life through that old filter. Run it through the body's smallest rituals. Drink a glass of water. Stand in light. Exhale longer than you inhale. Text one person who knows your laugh. The smallest switch flips different breakers than you expect. Because your sign respects clear moves, let the dates you already know about become living thresholds you can cross on purpose. As the combust run opens around September 3rd and partnership conversations heat, choose a communication policy you can keep under pressure and state it plainly. We don't text essays late at night. We schedule hard talks. We summarize agreements in one paragraph, so future us can keep promises. As Uranus turns inward at home around September 6th, pick one change that drops friction out of your day. A lighting fix that keeps your brain from collapsing at 5. A shelf that intercepts chaos at the door. A no laptops in bed rule you honor even when the night is loud with goals. As the lunar eclipse strikes September 7th to 8th, choose one way you will name yourself and either claim it publicly or claim it in your chest. Title, boundary, pronoun, bioline, the way you introduce yourself in rooms that forgot to leave a chair for you. On September 13th, catch the Sun-Mercury bell and move one piece on the board of us the same day. That evening, let Mars's first step into Libra translate into step 1 of travel, study, teaching, legal clarity, or your own expanding voice. When September 15th shifts Venus into partnership, let tenderness become a tool, not a mood. When Mercury crosses into Virgo that same day, wet math and kindness date each other in your money and intimacy rooms. When the Sun joins Mercury on the 17th, hold the bridge between what you owe and what you are worth, without collapsing into either side's story. As the combustion window deepens into the solar eclipse build around September 20th through 23rd, slow your nights and lower your inputs, because the mind is glassy then, and glass breaks under shouting. When the solar eclipse lands, September 21st, 22nd, write your rules small and sharp, like a craftsman's mark on the underside of a table. You will touch them with your fingers more often than you will show them to the world. And when September 30 clears Mercury's heat and the static drops, send the message you drafted, cut the extra words, and let the echo you want do the work while you step away to touch a wall you painted yourself. Work, money, and home are not separate departments this month. They are one ecosystem with 3 different smells. Work wants you to teach what you know, to write what you keep postponing, to move an idea from hallway talk to calendar. Mars in Libra lends you a voice that wins without a raised volume, and Jupiter in Gemini lends you a joy that sells without selling your soul. Money wants integrity more than urgency. Saturn retrograde in Pisces rewards structure that doesn't punish, routines that don't humiliate, budgets that reduce anxiety instead of performing austerity for an audience that doesn't pay your rent. Neptune retrograde in the same zone wants your income to sing the same key as your values. When a path pays but rots your sleep, you know the music is wrong. Home wants small systems that free attention, like clearing a slow leak in a boat. A practical ritual stitches all three. Begin and end your working day with a light you turn on and off. Write one line about tomorrow before you stop. Place your phone in a far room so the evening can be a room and not a tunnel. Your brain loves a door. Give it one and it will walk through without tantrums. Relationships ask you to trade performance for presence and to treat repair as a craft, not as a last-ditch stunt. Early September can feel like sparks land on dry grass in conversation. Douse, don't fan. I feel, I need, and I'm choosing can move mountains that you never and you always only steepen. When Venus moves in mid-month, gentle gestures stick to the ribs. Own your part quickly, ask for what would make it fair, and end talks with an action rather than a concept. If you are single, take September personally, but not as accusation. You are not late, you are not behind, you are not an exception to love's physics. You are calibrating your magnet. If you are healing, let the solar eclipse help you draft a rule that protects your heart while keeping it warm. I don't chase attention, I invest in care. That sentence becomes a landmark when you are tired and the old bridge is closed for repairs. With family, Saturn and Neptune emphasize compassion that can count to 10. Set standing check-ins. Put the hard topics in daylight. Pick one role you can do well, instead of 7 you do poorly while resenting everyone. Love is honest pacing, not heroic collapse. Health is less mysterious than your newsfeed suggests. Jupiter wants movement, morning light, water with actual minerals, food that likes you back, laughter that doesn't require a subscription. Use the moon's exalted window, around September 12th to 14th, to begin a habit you could carry past New Year's without willpower drama. 15 minutes of walking after lunch, a stretch sequence you can do on a rug, a bottle you fill automatically when you open your laptop. Use the Scorpio dip around September 26th to 28th to reduce caffeine, reduce screens, reduce the number of people who get to have your midnight. That is not quitting. That is the chemistry of endurance. And endurance is what gets you across the long bridges eclipses build. When the day tilts and your mind starts writing fiction stamped as fact, practice responses that keep your future clean. If you feel cornered, say, I hear you. I'll respond after a short break. Then earn the break by touching a leaf, counting your breath, or washing a cup. If a money decision feels like a sprint you did not enter, sleep on it and revisit in daylight, with water in your hand and your feet on the floor. If your to-do list yells, draw 2 columns. Moves me forward versus noise. And put 1 hour into the left column with your phone in another room. If your mood drops on the Scorpio days, ask one person for a quiet hang and be the first to put your phone away. If the solar eclipse makes fear loud again, place your palm on your sternum, breathe out longer than you breathe in, and do one tiny action that proves you are safe right now. Lock the door, send the I can't tonight, throw the news to tomorrow and go shower. If you want to post when you're angry, write it in a note and read it tomorrow. If it still matters, say it to a person like you're not trying to win, but to be known. Hold the cast in your mind like a constellation where each point glows with a job. The sun is your spotlight. First half shining on us, second half illuminating what we share. Mercury is your messenger. Hot all month, first in your partnership, then in the vault where money, trust, and the secrets you barely tell yourself live. Venus is your diplomat, entering us at the right time to make truth gentler and love warmer. Mars is your engine, marching into belief and travel to push ideas into motion and invite courage dressed in a suit of grace. Jupiter is your coach in creativity, reminding you that tiny joy prevents gigantic meltdowns and that play is a power source for progress. Saturn retrograde and Neptune retrograde are the project manager and dream director in your earnings and values, insisting that you pair structure with compassion so numbers stop chasing you in your sleep. Uranus retrograde is the electrician in your home, not flashy, absolutely essential, rewiring the quiet systems that keep your days from flickering. Pluto retrograde is your underground negotiator in the 12th house, helping you end what needs ending so beginnings don't have to scream. Rahu in Aquarius pulls you forward into the shape you already are when you stop apologizing for arriving. And Ketu in Leo asks you to drop the drama that made you visible but kept you hungry. Aquarius, your genius isn't only in seeing the future, it's in designing the bridge and then walking across it before the concrete is fashionable. September pays you for that gift, but the payment arrives in clarity and consequence rather than confetti. If you did nothing else this month, I would ask you to defend 3 things like they are sacred. 1 rule for your time that protects the hours where your life is built. 1 habit for your money that reduces fear and increases breadth. And 1 boundary for your words that keeps truth strong and tone humane. Keep them on your easiest day and your hardest day without needing to be perfect. The eclipses will try to shove you off balance. Your 3 rules are the railings on the storm bridge. The people who matter will feel safer around you. The opportunities that match will find the dock with your name on it faster. And your body will reward you with quieter mornings and sleep that repairs, rather than just interrupts exhaustion. Ask yourself aloud, because the air listens differently when sound carries weight. What do I want to be called now? What role will I stop performing in love because I am not a circus? What money truth will I live, even when fear hisses its old rehearsal lines at midnight? The sky is not grading you for speed or style. It is meeting you at the level of your honesty. If tears come, let them be water where something new will grow. If laughter comes, do not stifle it for the comfort of rooms that worship restraint as virtue. This is not a multiple-choice test. This is you becoming legible to yourself, and when you are legible to yourself, you become impossible to misfile in other people's stories. Imagine the last week of the month, with the sound turned down and the colors turned up. The solar eclipse has landed. Somewhere on paper, or somewhere on a wall, are the 3 rules you wrote when you were brave and tired. Your home holds you a little better because you changed a few small things that looked like nothing and felt like everything. Your bank and your body both feel clearer. You wake with fewer shoulds in your throat. The people who walk with you know how to meet you because you showed them instead of testing them. Work is still work. Love is still love. Rooms are still rooms. But the background hum of confusion has dropped 3 decibels, and you can hear your own footsteps again. You did that. And just as you start to relax, you will feel it. Not an ending, a click. Something locking into place without applause. September doesn't give you a neat bow. It gives you a fuse. You will carry that spark forward, not as a threat, but as a promise that the systems you built under pressure will outlast the pressure, because they were built for weather, not for the Instagram of a sunny day. When you look back at this month from the other side of the year, you won't remember a single sentence I said as clearly as you will remember the day you retired your old stage name, the hour you chose a boundary and kept it even when shaking, the moment a simple rearrangement at home turned chaos into a hallway with light at the end. You will remember signing something without fear, or unsigning something that once masqueraded as safety. You will remember the meal that tasted like a decision, and the nap that replaced a doom loop. You will remember saying, "I don't do that anymore," and hearing silence where there used to be an argument. You will remember walking past your own reflection and not needing to adjust it to be tolerable. You will remember answering a text tomorrow instead of at midnight and discovering that love survived the delay. You will remember that you did not need to burn down a room to open a window. Aquarius, the world loves to call you ahead of your time. Let them. You know that being ahead of your time is not a personality trait. It is a building practice. September gives you metal, measurements, and a weather report that refuses to lie. It gives you a demolition permit for roles that kept you liked and kept you small. It gives you a wiring diagram for a home that charges you instead of eating your hours. It gives you the courage to treat money as a conversation you can have in daylight without a quiver. It gives you a way to turn fights into fair terms and romance into rituals that last when the high wears off. It gives you a sun in Virgo that teaches you to lead with useful love, a Mercury combust that teaches you to cool your words and sharpen your edits, a Uranus retrograde that teaches you to change the setup so change sticks, a Mars in Libra that teaches you to move with grace as a strategy and not just a style, a Venus in Leo that makes bravery beautiful without the crowds clapping, a moon that teaches you when to hold and when to soften, a Saturn and Neptune retrograde duet that demands spreadsheets in one hand and compassion in the other, and a Pluto retrograde that erases contracts you signed with fear. When September detonates into October, you will not stand in rubble. You will stand in a frame that can take a roof. Do not be surprised if the quiet power in your chest is the loudest thing in the room. That's what integrity sounds like when it stops apologizing. If you made it this far, you've already proved you're serious about your life. If this spoke to you and you want more of it, more clarity, more straight talk, more maps for the months ahead, then subscribe and tap like before you go. It helps this work reach the people who need it on the day they need it. And it keeps this channel lit for you when the sky gets loud again. Share this with the Aquarius in your life, who's about to make a decision they'll be proud of in a year. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep your rules simple, your heart warm, your systems kind, and walk forward like the future trusts you, because it does.